Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu.
Good evening, everyone. I believe you just finished your 15-minute meditation, settling your mind, body, and speech in its natural state and grounding a little bit. Let's go ahead and take refuge and cultivate bodhicitta. Those of you who'd like to join me, please do. Let's visualize the Buddha in the space in front of us. And let us begin. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity, ethics, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity, ethics, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity, ethics, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. Ah, yes. So good to be with you again, even though it's virtual. Today, I am traveling to Texas, so my monthly trip there. And it's real precious that we have the technology that I can record a teaching here in the early morning, and we'll still be able to continue this evening. So where we're at right now in the text, approaching the Buddhist path, is on working with afflictions. Last week we touched on really this very straightforward Buddhist approach, which is that afflictive states of mind, afflictive emotions, well, if we really look at them with clarity, with wisdom, bringing reality to being, they fade. They cannot withstand analysis of reality, of the nature of things, of truth. And that constructive emotions, such as compassion, loving kindness, that they actually increase as we bring wisdom to bear, and that they become stronger, more prevalent, and over time just become more effortless. That was the statement in the text last week. And then we invited everyone to start this process to explore how we can bring more light to the destructive emotions and afflictive states by identifying one in particular. Start with the biggest one. That's the advice. We can't sit here and go, okay, I have 84,000 afflictions, I'm going after it. What we do is we pick the biggest one, and by biggest, I don't mean largest, the one that is most prevalent in terms of just obscuring the person we want to be, the way we want to live. It's getting in our way of engaging in life with virtue in healthy and meaningful ways. And so the invitation last week was to pick one thing, pick one afflictive state, one habit, one tendency that is really blocking you in some way, and work on that one. Bring light to it. Understand how it undermines the very way you want to be in the world. And be able to notice it arise, let it come, let it go, and see if we can apply some antidotes, some alternative ways of responding when those afflictive states arise, or this one in particular. So that was the invitation last week. I do hope some of you did do that and worked on it a bit, and hopefully you'll have a little time to maybe share about that here at the discussion time. So having said that, let's return to the text here. And just to recap, working with afflictions, that's what we were talking about. And right here it says, afflictions are rooted in ignorance and other distorted conceptions. And as such, they are fragile and cannot stand up to the powerful states of mind that understand reality. The stronger our wisdom grows, the weaker the afflictions become, until eventually they are completely eradicated. So that this is a process. But that is the process, and that is what has been found to be true over 2,600 years. That's, I think, the time frame we're working with here. So pretty good track record. And then stated here, in contrast, constructive states of mind can be developed limitlessly. The fundamental nature of the mind is pure and stable. The innate subtle mind of clear light, which is the basis of the cultivation of positive states of mind, is stable in that it continues eternally without interruption. That this actual natural state is our nature, and it actually continues even beyond this body. While afflictions have powerful antidotes that can destroy them, no such counteracting forces exist that can eliminate constructive emotions and attitudes forever. They are based on accurate perception and thus can continually be enhanced. Furthermore, the nature of the mind is such that once we become thoroughly habituated to these virtuous states, we don't need to make repeated efforts to cultivate them. They will continue on limitlessly. That's pretty positive, right? So this is something to explore. Often you'll see in Buddhist texts or from Buddhist teachers this idea of a Buddhist hypothesis. Now, this is not me stated as a hypothesis. It's just what His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Tibetan children and others are just saying directly. But as this is shared directly, it's not that we sit there and go, oh, that's the way it is. It's like, oh, let me check this out. Let me see if this holds up. The very nature of what's being said here is what's true. What is true? And if this is true, that the more I bring examination, mindfulness, if I analyze, if I bring an investigative mind, a discerning mind to this, I will discover that a lot of the afflictive states of mind and emotions will become less strong, that they will become more fragile, that's their nature. And more naturally, more constructive states of mind will come into being. So that's what's being stated, but our job is to say, well, okay, let's see if this is true. Let's check it out. Let's bring that discerning mind to explore this. So that was the invitation last week. Pick one afflictive habit, state of mind, emotion, tendency, and work on that one. Shed some light. Is it based in reality? And what we have talked about is that our afflictive states of mind, emotions, etc., according to Buddhist hypothesis, all arise from misperception. And we talked about the 3 types of misperception, which relate to the 3 marks of existence. So that was the invitation. And to date, now I've only been doing this a couple of decades, I haven't found an afflictive mental state or emotion in my life that was based in reality. But I invite you to explore that on your own. Now we move into, as we explore this, how can we do this in a meaningful way? Now, throughout the day, we can check in, we can set an intention in the morning, we can try to remember and bear in mind, even making appointments with ourselves to be on guard for this habit, tendency, whatever it is we're working on. And then explore, what's causing it, where is it coming from, what's the fear, what's the truth. And so there's a process involved. Now, in this part of the text, we're going to explore a real practical way of understanding this, exploring it, and transforming ourselves. So, very practical. And for me, it's been one of the most transformative skill sets that has been provided. So let's pop open the text again here. So I did a little bit of a review, and now I think we're right here where it starts with furthermore. Furthermore, deliberately cultivating accurate perspectives increases the strength of constructive emotions. Due to the force of habituation, these new perspectives gradually become natural, as do the beneficial emotions. So as we deliberately bring these states of mind, this clarity of mind, this reality, and nurture and grow these qualities, they become stronger and they become natural. And one view is that we're growing them. The other view is that we're not actually growing anything. This is our nature. We are liberating them. So either way we want to look at it. Awareness of our body and physical sensations is especially helpful in becoming aware of disturbing emotions when they begin to arise. So this is where our meditation practice and our mindfulness practice is going to be very helpful, that we can become more present in our life, more aware of sensations arising in our body, tightness that comes as we feel tension or anxiety. We can become much more aware and more present with ourselves and our experience as we develop a regular practice of meditation and a regular mindfulness practice. Changes in our breathing, heart rate, body temperature, and muscle tension are some of the physical signals that accompany the emergence of a disturbing emotion. Making it a habit to check in with our body regularly can be very helpful. And so that's this process of cultivating a strong mindfulness practice along with our regular meditation practice. For some people, observing the mood or texture of their mind enables them to detect a disturbing emotion while it's still small. So this is even, this quick, even before it's, caught it in our body, catch it in our mind. Regardless of how we do it, the more aware that we become of our thoughts and emotions, the quicker we'll be able to evaluate them and decide whether to cultivate or counteract them. Engaging in regular meditation practice helps us to consciously practice cultivating constructive emotions and counteracting destructive ones. Through such training, we can establish new emotional habits, and with time, it will naturally manifest in our daily life. So what's being shared here is the ability that we have, people call it metacognition, being able to observe the mind, being able to be more present, more aware, not simply of the sensations in our body, but our thoughts, our motives, being really present with the thoughts as they arise, the motivations as they arise, the emotions as they arise, and being able to, before they really grab a hold, having some choice. Is this something to cultivate? Is this a healthy thought? Is it a healthy perception that I'm having? Or is it a destructive one, unhelpful? Is it leading towards some wisdom, some compassion? Is it leading towards some resentment or some grasping, some attachment? And if we can catch it there, huge difference in our lives. Generally, we're way into something before we catch it. And that's totally okay. Whenever we catch it, that's the point that we've caught it. And we have an opportunity, as I was sharing earlier, to start slowly, methodically, one thing at a time, being aware of. And what will happen is if I'm working on my biggest sort of afflictions or habits or self-obsession, whatever my thing is, it will trickle down to others. They're all very related. So just take your time to develop a meditation practice. I'm already cultivating more patience. I'm already counteracting a lot of impulsivity by integrating a little more mindfulness into my life, being observing during the day. I'm counteracting a lot of my habitual ways of living. I'll be able to observe more, be able to have more choice. So these are already antidotes, and they take time to develop. And one of the important things is not to sit there and think, how much I need to work on this. Rather, look how far I've come, look at where I am today, and how much I'm motivated to really cultivate my life, and understand that this is a real step-by-step process, little bits at a time. It's not a big 180-degree turn, gonna be totally different, gonna be totally mindful. That rarely works for anyone at any time. It's much more of a, okay, let's take some steps today. I remember when I first began a process of meditation that, sometimes, boy, there's just no way I want to meditate. Don't have time, my mind's not there. And I would make a point to just sit, to get into a posture and sit for a little bit. And that was good. Yeah, I didn't have a great meditation, maybe didn't have the amount of time I would have liked, but I got in a posture and I sat, and for a designated period of time that I said I would sit for, and mind all over the place, not much of a meditation. But the point is, I didn't give in. I sat anyway. And it's those little things that we can do in setting ourselves up to be gentle with ourselves, to engage in some habits that are healthier. And as we develop these, we're going to have resistance. We're going to be habituated in certain ways that find it difficult, resistant at times. And all that's good. That's us recognizing that that's the condition that that's our work to be done, right? And so not to get angry at ourselves, not to feel defeated. Even if we don't meditate one day, I tell people I used to give myself credit for just wanting to meditate, that this is an important thing in my life. And yes, I didn't do it today, but it's important. And I want to make sure I set myself up to do it tomorrow. And that's a much more constructive mental and emotional state than, I'm screwing up. Here I am not meditating again. I'll never get this. I'm not good enough. Whatever comes to mind. So again, destructive mental state, healthy, constructive mental, emotional states. Which am I growing? So in our practice, really important to be a good supportive friend of ourselves as we develop these habits and these tendencies that are supportive. They're really supportive of a life that's meaningful, that's wise, that is constructive, and cultivating the qualities of freedom and liberation. All right, let's come back here to the text. So we can develop more mindfulness and become better, more effective at being aware of the motivations and so forth, thoughts that arise quickly, and have a little more choice in how we engage with them. Now we're going to dive in, and this is where the practice that has really transformed my life will be able to be more clear. We want to apply intelligence. So intelligence, the ability to precisely discriminate or analyze the characteristics of an object, is another mental factor that can increase or decrease the force of an emotion. Object, it could be a mental object, a person, it's not like just a thing. It's what we're focused on. So this is another mental factor, the ability to really analyze and use our intelligence, that will allow us to decrease the force of emotion or increase. When corrupted, intelligence incorrectly understands how things exist and creates more problems for us. You can get a lot of resentment and things like that, really based in misperceiving a situation, and allow a lot more problems in the way that we react. When used correctly, our human intelligence and analytical capacity help us to overcome our destructive emotions. This intelligence may be a thought, such as a clear understanding of the disadvantages of anger, or it may directly perceive a deeper characteristic of things, such as their constantly changing nature. So my intelligence, as I feel anger, I can maybe really quickly become aware of how harmful that is for myself and others, and that can kind of let it fade much quicker. Or, as pointed out here, having a more direct perception that this anger will come and go, that it's constantly changing, and it's dependent upon what I'm paying attention to in a given moment. And so having that reality will really weaken anger very quickly as well. So I want to pause there because I'd like to talk about this practice and how it relates to both the intelligence and an awareness of the mental and emotional states, how we can become attuned to them. Some of you may participate in the morning practice or daily guided practice. We do have a little practice book, and we have within it a practice called Vajrasattva practice. It's a purification practice. I reference it usually in the morning practice as well. And within the Vajrasattva practice is what's called the 4 opponent powers. 4 opponent powers of purification, purifying the mind, purifying negative obscurations and karmic imprints. And while it is a Vajrayana practice, it's one in which Tibetan Buddhism would bring to mind Vajrasattva, this Buddha that is commonly used in practice for purification. Within it are these 4 opponent powers, which really don't require any deity at all, and directly relates to what we're talking about. Purifying the mind. What are we purifying the mind of? Well, hopefully we're purifying the mind of misperception. That's the core problem that leads to all the other afflictions. And so we can purify the mind by becoming more accurate. We can purify the mind by, as we were just talking about, bringing an analysis to the destructive or afflictive mental emotional states that we're experiencing, and highlighting how it just does not accord with reality. So the four opponent powers are designed to do just that. So whether we do a formal Vajrasattva practice, where we visualize Vajrasattva and engage in these four opponent powers, or whether we just, without a deity, we can also cut right through these obscurations, bring analysis, and purify our minds of these types of obscurations. They're pretty straightforward and not unlike even Catholic confession, really. So the four opponent powers, number one is, refuge, restoring a relationship. And what are we taking refuge in? What's refuge mean? When we seek refuge, we seek safety. We are sheltering from danger. So what's the ultimate refuge? Within the Tibetan Buddhist practice, what we're always going to talk about is the three jewels of refuge: Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And that's a safe place, something we can rely upon. Right? We have these afflictive states. The common analogy is that we're ill, right? We have these afflictive states, we're ill. And about 2,600 years ago, an incredible doctor was present and did the work to diagnose the illness. The illness we call samsara, the illness we call conditioned existence, the illness of these afflicted mental emotional states that arise from misperception. And this physician, the Buddha, gave us a prescription for noble truths. Well, technically the prescription. Well, yeah, the whole Four Noble Truths. We'll leave it with that. The Noble Eightfold Path of Four Truths is sort of the method, but all four, diagnoses the problem and the root cause, and then the prescription of the practices that will bring us to health again. That's the Dharma, the prescription. And then the Sangha. The Sangha is, what they call sort of the whole medical infrastructure, the lab techs, the nurses, the healthcare workers, the support team that helps us get well. So when we're taking refuge in the three jewels, that would not be just, your Sangha members in terms of people here today. Sangha in this reference would be the other enlightened ones, the other ones who have achieved awakening, and they're all here to support us, as well as then the Dharma and the Buddha. So Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, this is our refuge. And now we may not be at a point where that's our refuge. We don't maybe have that much experience with the idea of enlightened beings. And of the three, when they talk about the greatest, refuge is the Dharma itself. So the Dharma, then a lot of times we think about the teaching of the Buddha. Now Dharma can be not just teaching the Buddha. We can find Dharma in other religions and other spiritual teachings, and might find Dharma in philosophy and in science. Basically, Dharma being truth, that things that point to the true nature of self and experience. And then our Dharma would also mean our realizations that we've gained that accord with reality, and our growth in that way. So whether we, are in a place where the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, these three jewels of refuge, are a natural part of our lives, and we have full faith there, we can rest there, that would be a nice refuge. If we're not there at that point, what would be a good refuge? How about truth? What greater refuge can there be than the ultimate nature of truth itself? instead of taking refuge in delusion or misperception, how about I take refuge in the truth and in understanding the very nature of existence and how things exist. Dharma. So there's a good entry point. So first opponent power is restoring a relationship with the truth, restoring a relationship with our reliable teachers, restoring a relationship with path and skills and practices that eliminate suffering. So often when the four opponent powers come in, it's restoring this relationship with the Buddhas, the Dharma, the Sangha, restoring a relationship with the truth, restoring a relationship with the skills and practices that cut through misperception and cultivate the qualities of wisdom and understanding, compassion, etc. So I think we can all do that. How about we, find something that is reliable, durable, the truth. And so some of us, we did our refuge prayer at the start of this teaching, and that's the idea, is I'm establishing this refuge. So whatever way that we want to take refuge or restore a relationship with the truth, with the skills and practices of eliminating suffering, that's great, good point, okay? One opponent power is it's opposing ignorance, it's opposing misperception, it's opposing the causes of suffering. And then we move into the second opponent power, which is intelligent regret. And so that's what's being spoken to here, is let's analyze what we've done or what afflictive emotional states keep arising in our lives. And let's cultivate an intelligent regret for those negative things that we've done, ways we've acted out, ways we've harmed others, ways that we've been afflicted, and a regret for that. Now, this is not guilt in the sense of shame. There's a guilt in the sense of accountability. Yeah, I did this and I do that. And that's an accountability, not I'm a bad person. It's understanding that I'm afflicted. And so here's where we would apply an intelligence towards, let me visit, let's take, for example, maybe I lashed out at someone who's close to me, was angry, in frustration. I lashed out at them in anger, hurt their feelings, said something, showed up in a way I do not feel good about. Well, at this point, we would examine that, really acknowledge how that action undermines how I want to be. How did it harm myself? How did it harm them? In which ways is this destructive? How is there some regret for that? And again, it's not I'm a bad person because I've done that. The regret is a wisdom that arises from seeing how destructive this is for myself, for others. And so now we're going to apply this intelligence, this analyzing the qualities of that behavior, that activity. Could be a mental state, could be sort of escape tendency, whatever it is. How's this undermining the way I'd like to live, the person I want to become, the qualities of understanding or liberation, and get really precise about how this is undermining that. And so we call it an intelligent regret, because what we're doing is we're gaining a wisdom around how this is harmful to myself and others. And so rather than feel bad about it, it's actually something to be quite delighted in, that I'm cultivating some wisdom around this. There's, of course, a sensation of regret and And we want to really get in touch with that. Don't push that away. We want this intelligent regret, a regret that arises from seeing the harm, with the wisdom of understanding that this is changeable and it's not who I am. And I'm understanding this more. Now, there was a piece in there around being aware of my body sensations and the sort of mood and texture of thoughts, feelings. So what I like to do when I'm engaged in this process is to put myself in that situation, vividly remember what it was like, what was going on in my body, what the sensations were, and then understand why did I act that way? Was I fearing something? What was I attached to? Where's the misperception? Why? And was it based in reality or not? Now we're really applying some intelligence, some discernment, some understanding will arise then. When I see how I've exaggerated the moment and how those feelings arose and how I reacted. And then it's really, as I explore that, based in some sort of an attachment or exaggeration about a person or an event or a thing or what was going on, wisdom arises. Now this wisdom's arising while I'm still having those sensations that were in the body. So now I've got that sensation that where I normally would react a certain way. And now it's being intermingled with some wisdom and understanding about how this is not true, not the way I would like to be. And I'm gaining some wisdom about how this is undermining actually the way I would like to engage with others and myself. Now wisdom's rising. So again, now we can see how it's falling apart. These afflictive states can fall apart under analysis. And if we can do it in this 4 opponent powers meditation practice, then it has this incredible strength. And while we're here in this moment, with this wisdom and this intelligent regret, then we establish a firm resolve. A firm resolve, it's the 3rd opponent power, a firm resolve to not act this way again, to choose a virtuous response when these sensations arise, when I'm in the state of that I am going to resist acting in this harmful way, and I'm going to instead respond in a healthy, constructive way. And so at this point, we invite ourselves, next time I feel this sensation, next time I am feeling triggered in this way, what would be a healthy way to respond? What would be a healthy way to engage in whatever it is I'm doing? And now we have the opportunity, in the safety of our meditation, safety of our own space, to think about what would be a more constructive emotional state of response or physical response or thing to say or thing to do when I have these sensations in this mood within my body. And then get real clear about how that would be a different outcome. And so what's happening here is we are applying the analytical nature of the experience, really perceiving the misperceptions, the exaggerations, the way it harmed ourselves. We're gaining wisdom there. And I'm in the sensation of that moment. And now I'm placing within my consciousness an option, an alternative. When I feel like this is the way I'm going to choose to respond, and set a firm resolve to do so. So I'm linking the sensations with a healthier response. I'm linking the sensations with the wisdom of understanding that what would be a harmful response. and make this firm commitment to respond in this healthier way. It's like I'm practicing it in the safety of my own home, in my meditation. And I'm planting the seeds of this other opportunity to respond differently next time that sensation arises. And I'm practicing this. And then the fourth opponent power is what we call a remedial activity. So this is something that we can do that's wholesome, that's meaningful, to offset sort of the afflictive way that I was acting before. And so there's a wide range of things that we can do there, but there's something very concrete and tangible about doing something good to offset something I don't feel good about, and dedicate that this merit of this positive action is to help purify that past behavior. And so there's a wide range. A lot of people might say, some prayers and malas, of like Buddha of compassion, for all sentient beings, or for some loved one that's struggling, or might do the Vajrasattva mantra itself, a purification mantra, so that we're purifying these negativities so we can be of greater benefit to all beings. There's just direct meditation on emptiness, which, cuts through all these obscurations. But, we can go do some helpful activity to the community or to others and dedicate that for purification. So a remedial activity, meaning something to offset, something virtuous that's beneficial, that will offset the affliction. So that would be the 4 opponent powers. And that can be done within a Vajrasattva practice, can be done like I just did, without invoking a deity at all. What we're ultimately doing is purifying the mind, and purifying it of afflictive states and habits that are based in delusion. We're purifying from delusion, and we're cultivating wisdom. And so as we read this text and we look at it, what's being said is the more I apply wisdom, the weaker the afflictive states become, and the greater the constructive emotional states will arise, such as compassion, loving kindness, etc. And so I encourage everyone to please include these 4 opponent powers as a daily practice. For me, it's been one of the most transformative things when I do it on a regular basis, because, day in and day out, I'm working with those afflictive states of mind in a real productive, practical way, offering me an opportunity to respond differently. And so every evening, this is a recommended practice, that we dedicate the merit that we've cultivated all day for the benefit of all sentient beings and for our continued spiritual growth. And then we purify any negativities that we have cultivated. And that's the 4 opponent powers of purification. So hopefully this will give you quite a bit to talk about here in a little discussion. As I sign off, I'll encourage you to stick around and have a little discussion with each other. I know Rachel will be able to host that. And I will also post the just an outline of the 4 opponent powers that we can post in the community, and you can see that as well. I do hope you found this meaningful. Let us now go ahead and dedicate the merit that we've already cultivated from our time together here. I'll bring that up on the screen. Here we go. Again, it's nice to just take a moment to be in this moment, to recognize the value of our time together, the merit that has been cultivated from choosing to participate in the Dharma teaching on a Wednesday evening, to cultivate our hearts and minds to be of benefit to all sentient beings. An incredible amount of merit here collectively. And now let's dedicate this merit. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline. but increase forevermore.
Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu